What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Mostly, we didn't have an issue. The people were regulars, and the night shift was almost just a courtesy opposed to being a busy time. After midnight, we all sat around rolling silverware, making small talk. They had learned early on that I wasn't the sharing and caring type, so we talked about the new grocery store opening up on Daly Street, or how Tamara Adams was having an affair with Dr. James Avery, who was on what we thought was his fourth marriage. There was only one time where the old me came out to play, and thankfully the only person who was witness to it was the asshole in question. Turning the corner from the kitchen, he grabbed at me with his grubby fingers and dirty shirt. He wasn't a trucker, just some random passer-through who thought he had the fucking right to touch me. The bile had crawled into my throat at the thought of it. I let it slide inside, but the second he left, I caught him in the parking lot behind the diner and beat him into an apology. He didn't press charges and never came back, which was probably for the best. The adrenaline had pumped loudly in my ears as I felt the crunch of bone beneath them and satisfying splintering of cartilage and tiny bones beneath my fingers. It was a high I hadn't felt in years, and I had to shove the euphoria back down into the dark place in my gut, ignoring the pain that pressed against my abdomen as I once again hid that part of me. It was a blurb from my book that I am currently writing. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Typing When Tipsy. My name is Nicole, and I am so glad to be back this week after our little hiatus last week. It was finals, so as you all are aware, if you have ever been in school pretty much at all, finals are Hell Week times 20, and I always end up waiting until the Sunday that it is due at 10 p.m. to do final edits, which makes me slightly crazy, and I'm also shocked most of the time that Mike doesn't completely lose it, as I'm like half crying, half laughing hysterically through the rest of the night. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about writing and alter egos and just that kind of fiction that we all live in. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today who mentioned that sometimes she feels like she needs to go into her alter ego mode because some days are just rough. And it's funny because I guess I never really thought about it, but my main character in my book, her name is Jasmine, and there are times where I very much feel like I need to channel her for whatever particular day that I'm doing or day that I'm having, because she just deals with it in a very confident and compartmentalized way that I don't think that I necessarily handle very well. I like to think that I can balance business and work and pleasure and all of that, but I've always felt that there are times when I just get very emotional and get very high emotion, which isn't wrong, but maybe it's not the exact right time for it. So there's something to be said about that that moment where I'm able to kind of disconnect from me and connect to another character that I've, created. I got a planner, and on the front of it, when I ordered it, I got the saying "Writers live twice," because I truly feel like we get to live in these other worlds, and there's something in those other worlds that draws us. As a reader, I've always enjoyed reading about other things and partially living in those moments, which if you go back in the archives, you'll hear a lot more about Mike and I talking about that. When I read books, I definitely feel as if I am living in the moment. It is a part of me. It is who I am. When I lose a character in real life, in I guess my book's life, I'm extremely emotional about it. I feel as if a part of me has been kind of broken. And it's interesting because not everybody has those emotions while they're reading. I'm super connected to what I read, but I also am very aware when something is done and when something is over. That being said, I think that there's something to the longevity and the true open emotion of what I'm able to do when I write. The characters that I create and the people that I make are ones that I carry with me every single day. I'm constantly thinking about what she's going to do next and what her next move was. And part of my classes that I truly enjoy is that I'm able to sit down and really create these bizarre things I never really would have thought of. Well, I know how she would act. I wanted to put her in different positions in different situations. So one of the projects that we worked on was a character arc and a character sketch. And in it, we had to write about what her political views were, and if she had a scar, did she want kids? And all of those questions seemed kind of bizarre to me at first until I started working on it. And I'm like, oh, I really should think about these things because it does get really important and it makes such a difference. And that being said, I think that the characters that we're able to make and that we're able to connect with are so important. And I also think that's where this alter ego idea comes through. I think as people, we look at people that we admire, celebrities or motivational speakers or characters on a TV show, whatever it may be, we're able to look at these people and say, I wish I was more like that person. And I think when I'm writing and when a lot of people are able to sit down and write and really communicate with their readers, you're writing about a person that in some way, shape, or form maybe holds some personality traits that you wish that you had, or that you wish you were able to tap into. For me, it's always been Jasmine's confidence and her knowing that she does not give a shit about the other person. She needs to finish her job no matter what the cost. And while I wouldn't say it's to that extreme, there's something I feel that is so gratifying to know that you really don't care about what other people think of you. And for the most part, I think I'm pretty confident with that. But it does happen to everybody where you care about what people are saying. And I've always admired that about some of the characters that I create. I make them the best part of me times 1,000. And that to me is so important and so, it's so important, and it's something that I aspire to. And I also create these characters for other women and girls to aspire to. I think a lot of the times, as women, we are taught to be nurturing and kind and polite, and not enough of us say fuck politeness. To quote one of my favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder, not enough of us say fuck politeness. I create characters that are strong women that don't require a savior, that don't require someone to take care of them, that don't require the person to come by in their white shining armor on their white horse and save the princess. I'm doing it myself. I'm really just asking you to be there as my moral support. It's a lot of the reason why most of the things that I write have characters that aren't necessarily part of a love story, because I think it distracts from the true nature of the story. They're more of a background thing that happens, because I think you need to create characters that people have some sort of connection to, and the best way to connect with readers is to show them that emotionally they have the same feelings as your characters do. Relatable characters are sometimes difficult to make, but I think that when you do it right, and you're going to create somebody that somebody loves and somebody invests in and somebody wants to know about. So part of what I did when I started this program, and part of the reason that I wanted to create these characters, was because a lot of workshops in, and I was realizing that I wasn't being true to who my character was. It started off as a crime thriller piece with a lot of like subsets of humor and sarcasm and things of that nature. And as I went on, I realized I instead wanted it to be a bit darker, a bit more, I hate this word, but edgy, I guess, more noir fiction opposed to dark satire. And the reason for that was because I wanted to create a female character that was an anti-hero and wasn't a Black Widow and wasn't a femme fatale. We have so many superheroes and villains and things that we see that are categorized as Black Widows, that are categorized as femme fatales, that are categorized in that kind of subset in genre. And when we think of anti-heroes, we think of Deadpool and Batman and Venom. And you don't really see a lot of women in there. It was really important that I created a character that allowed for that allowed for a woman to kind of take that space and be able to be vengeful and angry and strong and tough and fierce without being anything but the anti-hero. So I've kind of trailed off a little bit, but I wanted to talk about that just a smidge, because when I'm creating characters in my alter ego, that's who I want to portray. I want to portray somebody that people can look up to in a weird way, I guess, because while I don't condone necessarily all of the actions that my character Jasmine takes, she does it for the reasons she feels are important, and she does it for the reasons that she feels she needs to. I wish I would characterize myself a little bit more when I start my days, and I think that's what Jasmine does, is she knows how she's walking into her life, and she knows how this day is going to go, and she knows what she's expecting and what she's expected to do. And I think that sometimes I'm a little jealous of the characters I create because they don't necessarily have these outward forces working in on them. When I walk into work on Monday morning, I'm walking in with maybe a positive attitude, but the second something happens, I get really negative and really bummed out, and sometimes I don't do as well as I necessarily would have. There are also times when I feel like I'm very unfocused, and something craps out my day and I'm not able to write because I'm just so bummed out about what's going on that I don't take the time to really sit down and say, okay, that was really shitty, but you know what? I still need to do it. Jasmine is so focused and almost driven to the point of unable to think about anything else, that she's so tunnel focused and tunnel driven at that point that she needs to finish her job. And sometimes I'm a little envious that she's able to do that in such a way that I never could. It's so funny because I talk about her as if she's a real person, and while I know she's not, to me, she's become this person. And I think that's what makes a writer a writer. I think that's what makes someone who writes movie scripts, a script writer. It makes someone who creates these stories and are able to create a narrative into people who actually envision these people. When you hear about actors talking about how, well, this person did this, and it's them acting as that person, they totally have a completely different persona. And they have this idea of who this character would be if they were standing next to them in a hall. And I think as writers, we're able to do that as well. And it's a superpower that I don't think everyone has. And I think it's something that can be so strong and so wonderful and so powerful. So why don't we let our alter egos come out a little bit? Why don't we let them run our days once in a while? Why don't we give them the due justice and power that they deserve? I would love to learn more from my characters. I think that in general, as we're writing, there are times where I joke around and say, I get so mad because she did this. And yes, I was the one writing it, but I've let her kind of take the wheel and allow me to be steered into different directions and create new narratives and maybe go down a different path. Another friend of mine was asking what to do about something that she was writing. And it was funny because our other friend gave her a really good idea, and it's now changed the narrative in such a way, and the writing hasn't stopped, and it's become this huge thing. And it's because the narrative got changed. Things were different. Everything was uprooted, uplifted, and now it is being put, it was going south. Now it's going north. It's crazy because you would think that was something that was written on their own, and it's not. It's something that the characters then drive for you once you put them in that direction. You see how they interact with one another, and you make it authentic. You think about the interactions you have with people every single day, and that's truly what drives you to be this writer, to be this author, to be somebody who can create a story out of nothing. And for me, that's always been the strongest my strongest drive, is to create something out of nothing that will mean something to one person.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
I created stories and I wanted to write because I loved the idea of living in a world that nobody else had lived in before, or living in a world that nobody else had seen because it was only in my head and it was only behind my eyes. Now I write because of that and because I wanted to see people who looked like me. And now that I've done that, I'm creating stories for people to just enjoy and just see, live, and truly, completely sense what is happening in these stories. I want people to be influenced. I want people to find solace in these books. I want people to find their own kind of way and their own inner strength from seeing somebody else be so strong, which I think can be a really big driving factor for a lot of people. It's easier to do things when one person raises their hand first. It's easier for the second person to raise their hand, then the third, then the fourth, and the fifth. And I think what we've learned, especially recently in the political climate, is if one person says, fuck it, I'm going to stand up and say what I need to say, others will follow. And I think when I'm writing, a lot of it is I want one person to know how much I have put into my characters and creating strong female women of color and strong female characters so that they're able to see what's important to me and what can be important for them and what they can strive to do in their own work, in their own writing, in their own world that they've created. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode. As always, I so enjoy talking to you and just seeing what's going on out there and letting you know what's happening in my head for writing fiction. This week has been really rough. It was finals week. I was very stressed out, super tired. There was a lot of things going on. Lots of hours were pulled at work and extra hours and things like that with the holidays. I'm sure you all know how crazy it gets. A lot of times we put our own self-care to the side because we're so worried about everyone else, and maybe someone needs this reminder today. So as a reminder, do not put your self-care to the side. You are very important. You are more important than you will give yourself credit for. And just take a few minutes every day to just recenter, refocus, and get back. It can be so hard, I know, especially during the holiday season, to remember about yourself. But the most important person that's going to look out for you is you. So, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Bye.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
It's another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy? Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.